Hey everyone, it is Dani and welcome to this updated video on the tropics. And so in this video, we'll be taking a look at our two systems across the North Atlantic. There's Tropical Depression 12 as well as that disturbance Invest 91L, which is bringing impacts to portions of the Southeast Caribbean and is likely to intensify into a tropical cyclone. And so before I go into details, please do subscribe and tap the notification bell so that you never miss an important update on the tropics. And to show your support for the channel, please leave a like on this video. Okay, and so let us go ahead and start off with a view of the Atlantic and on infrared satellites here. We're seeing that there we have 91L, quite disorganized, but a lot of activity right now in the southeastern Caribbean. And we also have Tropical Depression 12, and it is slowly dissipating. So this isn't likely to be something significant out there, and it is just a dissipating cyclone. And so it has not achieved tropical storm status, and the next name on the list is Julia. So if we have 91L here intensifying into a tropical storm, which seems very likely at this point, it is likely that we're going to be having it acquiring the name Julia. And so as of now, the depression has maximum sustained winds of 35 miles per hour, and it is moving to the west-northwest at 13 miles per hour. And so guys, now let's go ahead and move on to the main trait of this video, which is Invest 91L. And as we take a look at the 5-day graphical tropical weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center, we're seeing here that the chance is at a high 90% for the system to develop. And so it is likely that this is going to be intensifying into a tropical cyclone very soon, maybe by the next day or so. However, it is going to be bringing very dangerous conditions to portions of northern South America and the southeastern Caribbean. And so let's take a closer look at it. And here we have the system, a lot of activity right now across that section of the basin. And so we see that areas such as northern Venezuela, the ABC Islands, even portions of the Windward Islands, as well as Trinidad and Tobago are being impacted by activity from this. And as a matter of fact, yesterday I saw videos of just how much Trinidad has been flooded as a result of the heavy rainfall from this system. So it really shows that it does not take a tropical storm for a significant flooding event to take place. So even though this might not be a strong tropical storm or hurricane, it is still bringing very dangerous impacts. And so all this activity will be making its way towards the west, and other areas such as portions of Colombia will likely be impacted by this. And in the long term, Central America should be on watch, specifically Nicaragua, as there have been trends towards landfall in that area. And by the time when it's going to be making landfall, it is likely to intensify a lot more. Some models even calling for maybe a potential hurricane. And so as I speak about that, let's go ahead and take a look at the model intensity guidance and the model track guidance. And we're starting off with the track guidance, and we see that there is quite the consistency of that westward track expected of 91L, and we see that landfall is expected in Central America maybe by the next 3 to 4 days or so. And then we start to see that there was a little bit of uncertainty with where it goes after that. Does it go in the Eastern Pacific? Does it enter the Bay of Campeche? So those are possibilities on the table for the long term for the system. But one thing for sure right now is that it is likely to continue westward and make its way towards Central America. And this thing should not be underestimated for the potential intensity at the time, because whether it is a tropical storm or not, it is still likely to bring very dangerous impacts as seen now across sections of the Caribbean. And so let's go ahead and look at the model intensity guidance now, and we're seeing that we have quite a bit of models available, majority of which are expecting that this will become a tropical storm eventually, and more than half of that number expecting a hurricane from this. Most of these are peaking at a Cat 1 headed to a Cat 2 hurricane. One model showing a Cat 3, which I do not think is impossible, because once we have the right conditions, the very warm waters which are already there, as well as a moist environment and favorable upper level winds, as well as little to no land interaction, because that plays a part as well. Once we have all those, then it is likely that there will be some intensification of the system, and even rapid intensification at times. We've seen that a lot, and we definitely shouldn't underestimate this one. And so let's go ahead and now take a look at the conditions across the area, and then we'll be looking at the ensemble tracks for the GFS and Euro. Okay, and so starting out with the wind shear. So we have the red that indicates unfavorable wind shear, the yellow that means neutral, and the green that means favorable. And so we see that there is a bit of unfavorable shear across portions of the Eastern Caribbean, but of course, the system is going to be accelerating towards the west into a more favorable region, but its proximity to land is going to play a part in how strong or how much it intensifies because, of course, land interaction is an inhibiting factor of tropical cyclone development. So as I said, maybe by the next day or so, this will intensify into a tropical depression and then eventually a tropical storm, likely according to the name Julia. And then in terms of this water vapor map right now, so we have the yellow that indicates dry air. And of course, when dry air infiltrates tropical cyclones, that really helps to decrease activity because it is instability that results in all that shower and thunderstorm activity. But when we have dry, stable conditions, then that is likely to diminish some of the activity. So we're not seeing a whole lot of dry air in the vicinity of 91L, so that dry air isn't a significant issue for the system. And then of course we have those very warm sea surface temperatures, 29-30 degrees Celsius, mainly seen 30 ahead of it within the vicinity of the ABC Islands, headed a bit more west. We see that 30-degree isotherm, so that is really going to be helping to fuel the system once it is over water for the most part. And even looking at this map right here, this anomaly map, we see that the temperature across the area is a little bit above average, which is indicated by those that pale yellow and those oranges. Those indicate that we have above average sea surface temperatures. Meanwhile, the white means that things are pretty much normal, and the blue indicates cooler than normal temperatures. So there is some cooling taking place along portions of the Gulf Coast and the East Coast, the southeast coast of the U.S. as seen on this map right here. But as for the system, definitely warm waters ahead of it. And then as for the ensemble tracks for the GFS, we're seeing here that there is some consistency with where this is going to be headed. And all of these tracks here are expecting that this will likely be a tropical storm at the maximum, but I don't think that a hurricane is impossible from this. And then in terms of the Euro ensemble tracks here we have the members, we have that definite consistency in where the system is going to be headed. Even though we have some of these members here showing different areas across Nicaragua, the general consensus is that Nicaragua is going to be impacted by this, and then some of these members showing that we could have a system making its way into the Gulf or just crossing over into the Eastern Pacific. And so guys, the system here is definitely one to pay attention to over the next several days. And again, this bringing some very dangerous impacts to portions of the southeastern Caribbean, and will continue to do so for maybe the next day or so across the ABC Islands, northern Venezuela, and even other areas, guys. So please take all the necessary precautions and stay safe. And of course, I will keep you updated with what is happening out there. And aside from that, we don't have anything else to really watch for the very near future. But of course, I'm here to give you updates on what is happening. And so that is really it for now. And if you have any questions, you can leave them down in the comments, and you can also share your thoughts there. And of course, remember to always be weatherwise.